Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me. My name is David Ingersoll. I'm the Vice President of Sales at SoundSeal, and I appreciate a few minutes of your time this afternoon to run through an overview of our acoustical baffles and banners. So, generally speaking, an acoustical baffle is a product that hangs down vertically from a ceiling and is going to absorb sound. Now, we have a number of ways we can do that here at SoundSeal, and it involves different sizes, thicknesses, finishes, and also acoustical ratings. But really, it boils down to aesthetics. What do you want it to look like? There are times where aesthetics trumps acoustics. It needs to have a certain look or feel to fit the space, and sometimes it's simply the most important thing is going to be the acoustics, and how cost effective can we be in treating a space. But those are the primary differences between the acoustical baffles. We'll also talk about acoustical banners towards the end as well, and they are a little bit different. A banner goes horizontally to the ceiling and generally covers a larger area in one swoop or one product. So the first baffle we're going to talk about is probably our highest aesthetic baffle. It's a rigid baffle. It's comprised of two 6-pound per cubic foot fiberglass boards. And so those not familiar with density ratings, it's the same density as a typical fabric wrapped or FWP acoustical wall panel that would go on a wall. So it's actually a very rigid product. It's not your standard pillowy, fluffy material. Typical sizes are, anywhere from 8 inches to 16 inches high are very common. We can actually make them up to 48 inches tall or up to 10 foot long. So you have a pretty good range on size. They're fabric wrapped, so they're extremely decorative. Any of the standard panel manufacturers of fabrics would work. So the Guilford of Maines, the Knowles, the Maharams, the Design Techs, all of those things are doable. There's hanging brackets that extend out of the top of the baffle for installation. Every product you're going to see today is Class A fire rated, so I'm not going to mention that on each one. But everything we do at SoundSeal, we're very aware of the fire ratings. And the NRC on these type of baffles are 1.10 for the 2 inches thick. So essentially it is two individual fabric wrapped panels back to back with mounting brackets coming out of the top. But what you get is this. It's a very high-end look. It's a very finished look. This was wrapped in a Guilford Anchorage fabric. I believe it's called Sunshine, but you can see it's very much an aesthetic-driven acoustical baffle. Their wall space at this office was already taken up with artwork and other things. All they had open was the ceiling. It wasn't a drop tile ceiling. So acoustical baffles were a perfect recommendation or solution for the space. But they wanted something highly aesthetic. Same office, which was in Phoenix, did different colors throughout. So as you moved from space to space, because there was one wide open work environment, when they got to the kitchen or the rec area or relax area, they switched colors. But again, just a really nice high-end acoustical baffle. We do the same baffle, the R100, and R stands for rigid, if I didn't mention that. But we do that same baffle, but in a paintable finish. So if somebody can't find a fabric that they're happy with and they're really just sent on, hey, I want to paint it this Sherwin-Williams color or this RAL color, it can be done. We can give you a paintable fabric that's either going to be painted by the contractor in the field prior to installation, or we can paint them at our factory. We can go either way. Probably less risky to have them painted on site, by the time you ship and package and so forth, but it can be done either way. Everything else stays the same, NRC values, mounting brackets, sizes, there's nothing different, but again, they can pick what they want it to look like. And that really is the important part on the R100s or the rigid baffles. We're going to switch over and talk about semi-rigid baffles. So a semi-rigid baffle uses a lower density fiberglass core. So instead of 6 pounds per cubic foot, it's down more into the 1.5 to 2 pounds per cubic foot. So it's 3 times less stiff, if you will. And this is what most people think of when they think of an acoustical baffle. A little bit pillowy, a little bit fluffy, suspended from a ceiling. Generally, a lot of 48-inch by 24-inch baffles, a lot of 4x2s, but they truly can go bigger. They can go up to 8 foot by 4 foot. We do them in 3 different finishes. The most economical of all of them is a PVC finish. The next step up is a sailcloth, which is a little bit more abuse resistant. It's made of a ripstop nylon, similar to what you would actually find on a sail. And then we can do them with fabrics. All 3 options have sewn edges, which is unique to Sound Seal. A lot of our competitors will do a heat sealed PVC baffle, where they're essentially taking the fiberglass fill and heat sealing a bag around it, if you will. Sound Seal is stitchers by trade. We've been stitching products since 1978, and we can provide a stitched baffle at the same cost that competitors can do a heat sealed baffle. There is advantages to the stitching. We can use a slightly thicker PVC, so we use a PVC material that's 1 millimeter thicker than most competitors. It's a little bit more durable that way. You couldn't heat seal it, but our PVC baffle is considerably more durable than the competition. There's no chance of acting like a little bag blown up with air that might pop if hit with a volleyball, or pop if it freezes in a transport sitting on a truck. The sewn edges really do give you a lot of durability. And this is what you get. This is, again, what most people think of when they think of semi-rigid ceiling baffles. Typical high school gymnasium, you see the white baffles crisscrossed up in the ceiling, 4 foot by 2 foot, going in 2 different directions. That's the white PVC. That's by far our most economical baffle. I like this picture because it does show, just because it's a baffle doesn't mean it has to be suspended from the ceiling. Again, it's a very economical wall panel if you want. So those gray panels on the wall that are 4 foot by 8 foot up above the stripe, those are actually a baffle material that just got screwed directly to a wall. Again, very durable, fits the look of a gymnasium, a couple dollars a square foot cost, very economical to schools, and very good sound absorption ratings, upwards of 1.1 for the NRC. Another place we have a really nice advantage on with our acoustical baffles on the semi-rigid is our colors. We understand at Sound Seal how important color is, and you'll hear me talk a lot about aesthetics because it really does drive the projects. I'm an acoustics guy by nature. I want a room to sound good, and I'll do everything I can help on a project to offer guidance to do so. But I understand first and foremost, if it doesn't look good, nobody's going to use the product. So on our PVC, we offer 25 standard colors. That's about 2.5 times more than the competition. And we want to be able to offer a wide range of PVC finishes, simply because we know a lot of times people are trying to pick school colors or a certain theme. Yes, the 2 most popular colors are most likely white and black in the PVC. A white PVC if you got a white metal ceiling deck, and a black PVC if you have a black ceiling deck. But there are plenty of times where a color or an accent color is needed. The sailcloth, which is the color chart on the right, has a smaller offering. Currently it's sitting at 8 options. And again, this is what the semi-rigid baffles would look like. This time it is just that. It's that black ceiling with the black baffle. A lot of times people do that so it fades away. We're not trying to draw a lot of attention. We just need absorption, sound absorption that's not really seen but heard, something we can make a better sounding room with without drawing a lot of attention to it. There is another option for the Semirigid baffles, and that is what we call a tabbed baffle. So a tabbed baffle is kind of a hybrid mid-range baffle, price-wise. So the baffles you saw just a minute ago, the traditional semi-rigid, for installation, we shoot 2 grommets through them and they go suspend them up from cable or tie wraps or however they wish into their ceiling or into their trusses. But it does pose one thing to keep in mind. I wouldn't call it a problem, but one thing to keep in mind when you puncture a baffle with a grommet, it does offer puckering around the grommets themselves. So to get away from that, we have a tabbed baffle, which looks like this. So if you imagine this is much larger than what the sample is, we put a plastic rigid piece in the top that we can puncture with a grommet that is sewn all the way around, so that the majority of the baffle has no puckering. And when you see where it's used, it makes more sense. So this is a school that used them, and they were going to be down lower than they were in the gymnasium picture from a few minutes ago. These are on a white metal beam. They are more visible. They're more a part of the room, and they really wanted to avoid the puckering caused by the grommets. So in this instance, they used the tab baffles. It's a good application for them. Just gives a little higher end look without, significantly raising the cost. I mentioned acoustical banners when I first started. Acoustical banners are by far the best bang for the buck acoustically, best money spent for very large spaces. Banners are often 4 foot wide and anywhere from 8 to 10 to 15, 20, upwards of 25 foot long. So a 4 by 25 is 100 square foot, and that's our maximum size. But where they're going to be used is extremely large venues, multiple gymnasiums, university level gymnasiums, field houses, arenas, even some open industrial settings. But again, large cavernous spaces with high degrees of reverberation and echo that just need as much absorption as we can put up in a ceiling. It might as well you do it in big chunks, if you will, or larger pieces. It makes for a cheaper install and quite honestly gives you a really nice look. The finishes remain the same as the semi-rigid baffles. So the finishes are PVC, sailcloth, and fabric. Typical width is 4 foot. We can do 2 foot. We can do off sizes, but you're really paying. If we do a 30 inch, you're going to pay for a 48 inch. So mostly we see 2 foot and 4 foot widths. Installation is a little bit different because they are so long. They have a natural swoop or festoon to them. We can do them with aluminum stiffeners on the end, which this drawing is showing, and then we'll tie off to a truss. We can also do it with a grommet. I really prefer the grommet option because it keeps the cost of the project significantly lower. Most people, again, can't do a grommet on these large banners because the grommets will pull out because they heat seal their product. Again, our banners are sewn like everything else, so we can comfortably and with warranty back a grommet on a 4 foot by 25 foot banner. Excuse me. Color options stay the same as we had just previously mentioned. But this is more what you get. So you get really large open areas where we need a ton of ceiling treatment because, again, it's a really big area. This was a Goodyear plant, and they wanted absorption up in the ceiling. They wanted to keep it horizontal to the ceiling deck so it's less visible, less coming down into the space. So it's exactly what they did. On the ends, if you look close, you will see the silver. So they use the aluminum stays. This is a facility that rents out for small trade shows, large weddings, corporate gatherings. And I first went in this place, it was acoustically a nightmare. Metal deck ceiling, reflective floor, 2 walls of drywall and 2 walls of glass. And they asked, what do we do? What can we do economically? And I suggested the catenary banners to them. They're like, great, we love it. We can do that. We don't want them to, swoop or have that droop down into the ceiling like the previous picture I had just shown. And we talked about it. We talked about it and we said, yep, we can do that. We can provide washer plates where you can direct apply this right to your ceiling deck. It's going to get a little puckery, if you will, or pull in on the PVC, which you can see if you look close. And they didn't mind that, as they just didn't want the droop or the sag down into the facility. And they ended up covering about 70% of their ceiling and all. They got an excellent sound reduction. Different application, but the same, different venue, same application. This was a high school gymnasium. They wanted to use more like a 4-foot by 8-foot banner. They weren't sure where they would have breaks for lights and trusses and things, so they wanted to keep the sizing down, but they wanted to go flush to the deck as well. And again, the horizontal banners can absolutely do that with washer plates or grommets. In this case, they didn't use a washer plate. They used a screw and a fender washer through the grommet and just kept them tight to the deck. So that's where we were with acoustical baffles and banners up until about November of last year. November of last year, we added 2 additional products I'd like to show you. They're both a PET product or an acoustical polyester, also referred to many times as an acoustical felt. And we call the line Polycoustic. So this is our newest offering on the sound quality side at SoundSeal. It's 35 colors in total. This is the majority of them. Everything from white to dark with lots of neutrals and a few bright colors. But it is a very green product. It's a product that's actually made of recycled 2-liter soda bottles. It's a very fun-looking product, a very modern-looking product. And the very first product we have is called the Vertex Baffle. Standard sizes or standard heights of the baffle, again, 12, 16, 24, but we can really do anything. Earlier today, I quoted some that were 8 3/8 of an inch high. No idea why. That was just what the spec was. But really, any height is customizable. The standard lengths are 4 foot or 8 foot, but again, 8 foot can be a max, but we can do any length available. Our standard width on these is 2 3/4 inch, and they're going to weigh approximately 1.5 pounds a square foot. But you get a very good NRC number. You're up at a 1.1, and these can be installed with your choice of threaded rod or aircraft cable. And this is what they're going to look like. It's 2 3/4 inch thick. It's going to have 2 9mm boards of polyester on the outside. We're putting in a nice air cavity in between them that is all finished off with the polyester or the felt. By going thick like this, we get that NRC at 1.1, and it gets you a very tailored looking, very durable baffle with very good aesthetics and acoustics. Just another picture of what they look like. They're pretty unique looking, that they have the depth, I guess is the best way to say it. They look like they have a little bit of depth to the product itself. So right after we launched that product in November, we had a lot of people say, hey, I love the Vertex, but we want it thinner. Kind of should have seen that one coming. And we've had very good luck with the 2 3/4 inch thick, but we knew we needed to launch a thinner product, so we came up with Vertex Slim. The Vertex Slim has all the same characteristics as the Vertex, except it's only 9mm thick, or 3/8 of an inch. NRC drops because we don't have that extra air cavity in the product itself, so your NRC is going to drop to a 0.75. but everything else stays the same. Color options, same mounting hardwares, and we get to do one more fun thing with it, which you'll see in the pictures. Because it is thinner, we're only using a single sheet of our Plex board. We can do 2 edge patterns on the bottom of the baffle. This one is just a wavy bottom. You can see it offers some movement in the ceiling. It gives you that sense of flow or movement in the ceiling. Or we can do it with a square bottom. Same cost. It's just a matter of how we're cutting it on the CNC machine. But the Polyacoustics is the newest product that we have, and I appreciate being able to show that to you this afternoon. If anybody has any questions on anything that they saw today, I know I went through it pretty fast, but I also know time is valuable. So if you have any questions on the product or an application, my email address is on the screen. If anybody wants a sample of anything they saw today, a brochure or a copy of this presentation, or simply would like to know who your local distributor is or who you should be working with, please feel free to reach out to me. And I appreciate your time. Keep an eye out with SoundSeal. We do weekly webinars. We try to pick relevant topics. Important to stay engaged this day and age. So I appreciate your time, and hope you all have a great afternoon. Thank you.